Hello friends, welcome to the Life Expedition program, Exploring Life with Wisdom, where we explore the intersection of wisdom of the Buddha and modern day living. Get ready to have your mind blown because we are taking a trip down the historical rabbit hole of environmentalism. Who would have thought that the enlightened one himself was a trailblazer in the fight for a greener planet? It turns out that way back in the day, Buddha was dropping wisdom bombs left and right about the interconnectedness of all living beings and the importance of living in harmony with nature. Forget about the latest trends, because Buddha was the original trendsetter when it came to reducing our carbon footprints and embracing simplicity. Let's travel back in time to the ancient world of Buddha and his gang of eco-warrior monks and nuns. These guys were all about living in perfect harmony with nature. And they had some seriously awesome rules to prove it. First off, they were like the original tree huggers with a strict, hands-off policy when it came to cutting down those leafy giants. Flowers were off limits too, because plucking them would just mess with Mother Nature's grand design. And let's not forget about the forest. Disturbing it was a big no-no, because even back then they knew that the nature needed its peace and quiet. Oh, and pollution? Forget about it. These mindful monks and nuns would not dream of dirtying up rivers or streams, or even soiling a single blade of grass. Talk about respect for the environment. But here's the kicker. Not only were they eco-friendly, but they were also thrifty fashionistas. Their robes were sewn from collected used fabric, giving recycling a whole new meaning. And when it came to food, they were all about being mindful eaters. They only collected what they intended to eat in their bowls, avoiding any wastefulness or greediness. And yes, you read that right. They even had rules about where to dispose of human waste. No tossing it into streams or rivers, because they knew that clean water was worth protecting. So let's take a page from the Buddha's book and bring some ancient eco-wisdom into our modern lives. But before we get more into that, hold on to your hats, because I'm about to take you on a wild and wacky journey through some not so funny real life situations. Picture this, you're chilling at home watching TikTok when suddenly your neighborhood turns into a water park with flash flooding and heavy storms. You grab your rubber ducky and start floating around like a boss. But wait, that's more. Just as you're drying off, a wildfire decides to crash the party, and you're forced to evacuate faster than a cheetah on roller skates. As if that wasn't enough, a drought hits and your water supply runs dry. You're left feeling like a cactus in the desert, desperately searching for a drop of water. I know, it sounds like a hilarious sitcom plot. But guess what? It's actually happening in many places around the world now. Hold up! It seems like Mother Nature has been on a crazy roller coaster ride lately, and she's not holding back on the thrills and spills. I mean, talk about a global heat wave extravaganza. With God-scorching temperatures, flooding, and wildfires popping up all over the place like it's the hottest trends of the season. Europe, the United States, Africa, and Asia are all in on the action, with July 2023 turning into the ultimate heat fest. Southern Europe even cranked up the heat to a sizzling 46 degrees Celsius, making sunbathing a risky business. And let's not forget about our friends up in Canada, where forest wildfires have been putting on a month-long fiery spectacle. But it's not just the land that's feeling the heat. Our oceans are warming up too, causing all sorts of aquatic chaos. Flash flooding, droughts, and water shortages are making headlines on several continents, leaving us feeling like we are caught in a wild water park ride without an exit strategy. So what's going on with the weather and climate? First up, we have got global warming. the superstar of rising temperatures. It's like the Earth turned up the thermostat and forgot to turn it back down. But wait, there's more. Enter climate change, the ultimate shape-shifter of weather patterns. It's like a weather wizard on steroids, causing all sorts of craziness like rising sea levels, shrinking mountain glaciers, and ice melt that would make Olaf the snowman shed a frozen tear. Yep, climate change is like global warming's mischievous cousin, who just can't resist stirring up some serious weather trouble. Is global climate change and global warming the real deal? Well, hold on to your hats because we've got some mind-blowing facts coming your way. Sure, Earth's climate has been doing some funky dances throughout history, but the current warming trend is a whole new level of hotness. 10,000 years. That's like a speed record for climate makeovers. Now, we can't ignore the little helpers in this climate circus, like changes in the sun's energy and volcanic eruptions. But let's be real here. Their contribution is like a tiny sprinkle on a giant climate cake. The majority of scientists are all on the same page, nodding their lab-coated heads and saying, "Yup, humans are totally causing climate change." Greenhouse gases are like the cozy blankets of the atmosphere, snuggling up to the Earth's surface. Just like the glass in a greenhouse, they let the sun's warmth in, but don't let it escape easily. These gases, like little heat-hogging superheroes, absorb the sun's heat that bounces off the Earth and keep it close. It's like they're saying, "No escaping warmth, you're stuck with us." Thanks to this greenhouse effect, our planet gets to enjoy a toasty temperature that's just right. So, let's give a round of applause to these gases for keeping Earth warm and cozy, even if they can sometimes get a little too cozy for comfort. Imagine covering yourself in a thick blanket in the sauna. Yikes! Heat waves can really put a damper on our plants, making us feel like we are melting away. It's like trying to do a puzzle with all the pieces sliding around. If this keeps up, we might have to start having underground picnics or stick to indoor adventures. Goodbye beach trips. Hello air-conditioned movie marathons. And let's not forget about those extreme weather events. Hurricanes, typhoons, floods, and wildfires are like nature's way of saying, "Hold on tight, folks." They can cause some serious chaos, turning everything upside down. But it's not just us humans who are affected. The rising temperatures mess with the delicate balance of nature too. Our furry and feathered friends are feeling the heat, with some species even at risk of saying bye-bye forever. And don't even get me started on those sneaky mosquitoes and the diseases they bring along. It's like playing a never-ending game of hide and seek, but with itchy bites as the prize. As glaciers and ice cap melt, and the cute polar bears and emperor penguins extinct because of that, the ocean levels decide to have a wild pool party. But wait, it's not all fun and games. This party comes with some serious consequences. Coastal communities and low-lying islands are feeling the effects of rising sea levels. Increased flooding, coastal erosion, and the loss of precious habitats are making life a bit soggy for everyone involved. And it's not just the cute critters who are feeling the impact. The delicate balance of marine life is getting all mixed up. Fish, birds, and plant species that rely on coastal environments for survival are feeling a bit fished out of water. It's like trying to find your way in a maze without a map. But wait, there's more. Sea level rise is even making life difficult for farmers. Agricultural soil is at risk of getting a little too salty from the intrusion of seawater. Talk about a flavor disaster for our food production. The devastating effects of flooding, coastal erosion, and land sinking have forced entire towns and islands to consider relocation. Aladdin Jean, Charles Island in Louisiana, and Yupik of Newtok, Alaska, are just a couple of examples of places that have had to say, "See ya later, alligator," to their homes. The United Nations is sounding the alarm about countries like Bangladesh, China, India, and the Netherlands, where millions of people are living in low-lying coastal areas. It's like a high-risk game of duck, goose, but without the fun. When these wild weather events strike, they can wreak havoc on our homes, roads, and everything in between. It's like a real-life game of fixer-upper, but without Chip and Joanna Gaines to save the day. And let's not forget about the impact on our poor farmers due to the unpredictable weather patterns. But it's not just our homes and farms that take a hit. These extreme weather events can also mess with our wallets. Home insurance costs start skyrocketing as insurance companies try to cover the risks associated with these wild weather phenomena. It's like trying to catch a falling star, but instead we're catching rising insurance bills. And oh boy, don't even get me started on the food supply chain. When extreme weather strikes, it can disrupt the whole process, making it harder for farmers to grow crops and for us to get our hands on affordable and reliable food. Buddha talked about the interconnectedness of all things. It's like a cosmic dance party where we are all grooving together. And when it comes to climate change, the interconnectedness becomes even more apparent. The climate crisis isn't just some isolated issue. It's like a big, intricate dance where every move affects the others. And all these crises directly endanger us, our health, our lives, our family, our community, our country, our everything. The earth is like a giant potluck party, and we are all invited. No matter where we are living, we are all part of this interconnected climate system buffet. What happens in one corner of the world can send ripples that reach us all. It's like a game of climate dominoes. Someone in one country decides to cut down a forest, and suddenly we all feel the impact of reduced oxygen and disrupted ecosystems. Or imagine someone in another part of the world throwing a massive party and cranking up the AC, causing a spike in energy consumption and greenhouse gas emissions. We can't escape the consequences of these global shenanigans. In other words, this is the only Earth we have got, and we are all in this together. The concept of interconnectedness is like a little reminder that we are all in this together. It's like a friendly tap on the shoulder, telling us to pay attention to the impact of our actions. Picture yourself cruising down the road in your trusty car, enjoying the breeze. But little do you know there's a sneaky cloud of carbon emissions following you around. Surprise! Your car actually emits a whopping 4.6 metric tons of carbon dioxide each year. That's like carrying an elephant-sized cloud of carbon everywhere you go. And every time you fill up your gas tank and burn a gallon of gasoline, you are adding a hefty 8,887 grams of carbon dioxide to the mix. That's like the weight of a small elephant. So keep in mind, our actions are connected to the environment and the delicate web of life. It's like being part of a big team, so let's make sure we are all playing our part. Global climate change is like a big puzzle, and one of the main pieces is the increase in greenhouse gas emissions, especially carbon dioxide. But who's to blame? Well, we humans have a starring role in this drama. Our burning of fossil fuels like coal, oil, and natural gas, along with deforestation, industrial processes, and certain agricultural practices, have all contributed to this climatic chaos. It's like we accidentally set off a fireworks display of emissions. Fossil fuels or non-renewable energy sources are the not-so-cool guys causing global climate change. Coal, oil, and gas are the mischief makers responsible for more than 75% of greenhouse gas emissions and almost 90% of carbon dioxide emissions. When we burn these fuels for energy, they release carbon dioxide into the atmosphere, creating a greenhouse effect that warms up our planet. The old school way of producing energy, especially from these fossil fuels, is a major contributor to greenhouse gas emissions. And of course, don't forget about our trusty transportation sector and the way we heat or cool our buildings. They also play a role in pumping out those emissions. Deforestation is another culprit for climate change. Trees absorb carbon dioxide through photosynthesis and acting as nature's carbon sinks. As we chop down forests for housing and commercial developments, farming, road building, and urbanization, we are not only saying goodbye to beautiful green spaces, but also releasing more than 1.5 billion tons of carbon dioxide into the atmosphere every year. It's like a big smoky bonfire party that's not so great for the planet. Oh, and the industrial processes, they sure know how to heat things up. From the production of plastics to cement, chemical, and synthetic materials manufacturing, these activities release greenhouse gases like carbon dioxide, methane, and nitrous oxide into the atmosphere, making our planet toasty. Plastic production takes the cake when it comes to greenhouse gas emissions, with carbon dioxide being the primary culprit. Livestock farming, with a special shout out to our bovine friends, contributes to the production of methane. But that's not all. The process of raising and farming cattle for beef production requires a tremendous amount of feed, which in turn requires its own land and resources. It's a complex cycle that significantly impacts greenhouse gas emissions. Nitrogen fertilizer production emits greenhouse gases during the processes like converting nitrogen gas into ammonia and producing fertilizers release nitrous oxide. Oh, rice, my beloved carb companion. Little did I know that you too have a sneaky side when it comes to greenhouse gas emissions. Who would have thought that the innocent act of flooding rice fields during cultivation would release methane into the atmosphere? The root cause of global climate change all boils down to two troublemakers: desire or craving, and ignorance. Our never-ending desire for more leads us to gobble up resources like there's no tomorrow, resulting in environmental degradation. It's like a never-ending buffet that we just can't resist. And to add to that comedy, ignorance jumps in with a ta-da! As we remain blissfully unaware of the impact our actions have on the environment. So we just need to knock out these two troublemakers. Let's approach the values Buddha taught and how they can help tackle global climate change. Imagine Buddha as the ultimate eco-warrior, armed with the realization of impermanence, love and compassion and mindfulness. Impermanence reminding us that everything is constantly changing, including our environment. So let's appreciate and care for it in the present moment just as it is. And hey, remember that natural resources are like a limited edition collection. If we don't preserve them cautiously, they'll run out. Buddha also champions compassion and loving kindness for all beings, including animals and the environment. This compassion extends to those suffering from environmental degradation, motivating us to take action and protect our earth. And if relating to all beings is a bit tricky, no worries. Just think about our loved ones being affected by these crises. Lastly, Buddha encourages mindfulness, being aware of our actions and their impact on the environment. It's like having a little Buddha on our shoulder whispering, "Consume in moderation, reduce waste, and make choices that minimize harm." So let's channel our inner Buddha and join the eco-friendly revolution, one mindful step at a time. Now let's dive into actions that we all can take to make a difference. First up, we have the dynamic duo of recycling and reusing. Recycling is like giving items a second chance at life, transforming them into new products instead of letting them go to waste. It's like a recycling party where materials get to boogie on down and find new purposes. And don't forget about reusing, the ultimate act of giving items a makeover. You can turn that old wrapping paper into a work of art or pass on outgrown clothing to friends or charity. It's like a fashion show for the environmentally conscious. Next, let's protect and restore our ecosystems. This means choosing clean and renewable energy sources, supporting local producers with sustainable practices, and even planting some trees. It's like throwing a green party for the earth. When it comes to getting around, let's put on our walking shoes, hop on a bike, or take public transport whenever possible. It's like a fun, eco-friendly adventure every time. And of course, mindful consumption is key. Before making a purchase, let's ask ourselves, do we really need it? Is it eco-friendly? Can we find a greener alternative? It's like a game of eco-conscious decision-making. Last but not least, let's conserve all our precious natural resources, not wasting food, water, especially fresh water. It's a limited edition. Electricity. It's like a conservation dance party where we keep the earth grooving for generations to come. So let's get out there and make these actions part of our everyday lives. Let's take a look at the decomposing timeline of some everyday items. Brace yourself because these numbers might surprise you. Did you know that a plastic bag takes a whopping 1,000 years to decompose? It's like the ultimate procrastinator taking its sweet time to bid farewell to this world. And speaking of shoes, they are no quick decomposers either, taking a leisurely 30 to 40 years to bid adieu. It's like they're putting on their own farewell marathon. Now let's talk about disposable diapers. These pesky things take a staggering 500 years to decompose. It's like they're planning to stick around for generations. And don't get me started on polyester t-shirts. Depending on the conditions, they can take anywhere from 20 to 200 years to break down. Talk about a fashion statement that lasts. Lastly, denim jeans. They take a solid 30 to 40 years to decompose. It's like they're saying, I'm staying trendy, even in the afterlife. So let's keep these timelines in mind and make sustainable choices, because the earth should not have to wait centuries for our waste to disappear. Let's be mindful and opt for eco-friendly alternatives that won't leave a lasting mark. Well, inorganic waste is almost impossible to decompose, but here's the punchline. This kind of waste can lead to pollution, harm wildlife and the environment, especially our water source, and overwhelm landfills. On the other hand, soil respiration and decomposition are like the unsung heroes of the earth. They account for a significant 28.56% of natural emissions. Thanks to the hard work of organisms in the soil, these little creatures, like the decomposers, break down dead organic material and release carbon dioxide as a byproduct. It's like they're the busy bees of the underground world, creating about 220 billion tons of carbon dioxide emissions annually. And speaking of landfills, they are a prime example of soil respiration and decomposition in action. But here's the twist. They can also contaminate the environment, especially our precious water sources. And if you thought organic waste and food waste were innocent, think again. They are responsible for about 8% of global greenhouse gas emissions. So another reason for us to not be greedy and buy only what we can consume. Otherwise, they will become waste and give us more trouble. Whether you are a believer in the science or not, one thing is for sure. We are all in this together. The weather and climate issues are no joke, disrupting our daily lives, impacting the economy, and even threatening our health and well-being. Well, governments, policymakers, businesses, and international corporations are like the big guns, implementing policies and investments to reduce greenhouse gas emissions and promote clean energy. But hey, let's not forget about us, the individuals. We may not have capes, but we can still make a difference. It's time for a global effort, my friends. We can start by making wise decisions, being mindful of our lifestyle and consumption. And let's not keep this knowledge to ourselves. Let's share our awareness with others. It's like we are starting a peaceful revolution, reaching out to local authorities, policymakers, showing them that we care. Together we can protect our Mother Earth and create a more sustainable future. Some people may think our efforts are too little, like trying to put out a forest fire with a water pistol. But hey, every drop counts, right? And then there are those who say, why bother? Let's just enjoy life and worry about the future later. The future is not some distant galaxy far, far away. It's right around the corner, ready to greet us with open arms. And if we don't start making changes now, it will be like trying to catch a speeding train with a broken shoelace. Trust me, that's not a good look. We can't escape the impact of these issues, no matter how hard we try. They are already knocking on our doors, affecting our lives and even our precious bank accounts. So instead of waiting for disaster to strike, let's take action now, my fellow warriors of change. It's like we are igniting small lamps in the dark, flashing light and hope. Sure, our lamps may be small and flickering, but with more people joining in, the darkness will eventually vanish. And that's a wrap, friends. We've delved into the world of sustainability and explored how Buddhism can guide us towards a greener and more mindful way of living. But don't worry, our journey doesn't end here. Stay tuned for more enlightening conversations and exciting adventures as we continue to explore the intersection of Buddhism and modern living. Get ready to be inspired, motivated, and maybe even find a little inner peace along the way. So grab your virtual backpacks and join us on this journey of discovery and enlightenment. Together we'll make the world a better place, one sustainable step at a time. See you next time. May the earth and all living beings be well and happy.